Y'all, God basically was showing me that I was, when I kept seeing like the different, even like the thing being far away, right? That jump being so far away from a lot of times I keep seeing these different tiers, right? In my drink, like these different levels, right? And how I'm always ahead. He kept showing me how I was always ahead, right? Even when like everything that he was showing me, even with the famine, all of it, right? God has shown me so much stuff. But he was showing me like how I'm always ahead, like 10 steps ahead of people, right? So when I get the downloads and the messages that people are doing certain things, right? And I, like, one day he gave me a download that somebody was going to do something, right? And I started getting this feeling, and God was showing me, you about to go up under spiritual attack, right? And I was getting this feeling, I said, damn, I'm up under spiritual attack, right? So I went into spiritual warfare on them, right? You ain't gonna go to spiritual warfare on me, and I'm sitting back, it's rules to this, baby. It's rules to this. But the difference between me and you is I ain't riding dirty, right? Sometimes it might be as simple as a prayer, right? Simple as going into prayer, as simple as fasting for a couple of days, things of that nature, right? And so God showed me how to combat certain things. And so he was showing me it would feel so grand at that time. And I'm like, what is this, right? And I would go into prayer and I do what I need to do. But he was also showing me that at that time that it was going on, and I felt it so heavy that it wasn't going on. He was giving me, it was coming, right? And a lot of times I would feel something right then and there, and then I would feel it like a week later. And he would show me that every time that these things happen, this is one of your gifts, to be able to feel when somebody is sending something towards you. But God allowed these certain feelings to come through before the person even do it, so I can combat it before it even goes on, right? That's how much God be loving us, right? He be loving on us. I don't like no whips and chains when you can't hold me down. But you can put your loving on me, baby. Put your loving on me. I don't like no whips and chains. Right? Y'all, God be loving us so much that he'll warn us before it's coming, right? A lot of people like, oh man, all this stuff is happening. Yeah, but a lot of times, you gotta understand that you're favored and that God is going to allow you to be able to combat anything before it come your way. So, even when I seen the famine and stuff like that, right? God was showing me in that time frame that these things were coming, but also I allowed you to get that message, get that download, communicate with you at the time that I communicate with you, so you can go into action. So that way, when you begin to prepare, right? These was not false alerts, but alerts enough to where it's still coming. Understand that. Hear me out. It's still coming. But God, at that time, God was showing me, gave you that message for one, to see if, can you hear me? Are you going to act on what I'm saying to you? Are you going to have enough faith to believe in what I'm saying to you? And then are you going to get the lesson out of what I'm showing you, right? And by him sending me that message at the time, he sent me that message and instilled that into me. And I tell you, it's something that you just can't shake. It's deep down rooted in your gut, soul, and spirit, right? And I just couldn't shake it. I began to prepare for this thing. After I prepared for it and did all this stuff and got all this stuff, he also showed me, look at these people around you. Every single person around you is stealing from you. Every single person. This is the reason why, right? Now we some years later, right? After this message, after I seen all these people stealing, and at the time I couldn't put it all together, but God didn't want me putting it all together right then and there, right? And so years later, I sat down and I went back over some things and I went into communication with God, and God showed me the reason why I allowed you to do that right then and there, because I wanted you to see the people around you. Look at that person. Look how much they stole from you. Look at what they was doing. And God showed me if these people around me always been stealing, and the reason why I had to send you into that alert when I sent you into it, so these people could go into action in enough time. Remember, I told you he always keep me ahead in enough time, so that when you had nothing and you was taking your little bit of nothing and putting it together, right, and making stuff shake, and these people had the opportunity to do the same when you gave them the message, but instead they came and took for your plate. And so being that I alerted you, when I remember I told you that in this dream that God had my grandmother to show me to jump over this thing, I was granted kingdom into heaven, right? And I'm on my next journey now. And so now in my next journey, God is showing me that everybody around you that showed you who they is, if you never went through them drills, ring the alarm, right? If you never went through those drills, you would have never got to see the people around you and was able to see what it was that they was doing, and you would have brought them into this new land. You would have brought them into the new territory, and they're not allowed to go into the new territory because these people have been doing so much more, and some of the things that these people have been doing, God would never allow you to see, hear, or none of that, right? Some of these people was putting hits out on some of y'all. Some of these people was trying to take your life for things that they was never supposed to touch, things that was left to you, things that you never received, and something that they never should have put their hands on, right? Some of these people did a lot of foul ass things to take and to keep what was not theirs. On top of that, they was sending people into some of y'all lives to be handlers and all this other weird stuff, these false friends, lying on who you are as a person. And in that time frame, God illuminated a lot of things to his people to show them who these people was, because some of our hearts are so great. If God would have never gave us, some of us, these alerts and some of these downloads that he gave us, right, we would have been taking these people all up into our new land. They would have been stealing. And we are at a time now when we did so much work on ourselves, healing, growing, evolving, right? that these people are not allowed to come up into our new land. We done did too much work for these people to walk in and ain't did nothing. They ain't learned none of the lessons of you being in their life. They ain't learned none of the lesson that God was trying to show them. They didn't get to know who God was, something that God was trying to give them the opportunity to do before Judgment Day, right? A lot of times God will use his people to go in there and be that buffer for those people before the great fall. You understand? And so it's up to them on which route they're going to take. 10 times out of 10, if these people is not in your life today, that means that these people failed their test and they're not supposed to be on in your new chapter, right? And a lot of these people, even if they didn't know each other at the time, the people who knew each other came together. The people who didn't know each other eventually got to know each other, whether it be friends, family, places, things, lovers, whatever. And now we at a place now where God is sending foot soldiers in to do the work to release what is ours, right? And so if you sit down and you really think about it, I had to get my phone about to die, so I had to get my plug, my extension cord. But these people are not allowed to come into your lives, right? If you sit down and you take a look at how far you came, right? A lot of us are not giving ourselves enough credit because, and I understand why as well, because a lot of us are still in a lot of energy, right? We still like going through it. So it's like you ain't got time to be sitting down and be like, damn, how far did I come? Right? Because the energy around you is still tumultuous and you still inside of a battle, but it's almost over. It's almost over. Here to tell y'all, it's almost over. It's over now. I was watching this lady, and this lady was like, she seen something on one of them apps, and I think it was called Reddit or something. She said she watched. I love this lady. And she said that this was something that was going on around me. And I said, I ain't never had to deal with this before. And I started to question this last person that was around me, right? And what put the icing and sugar on the cake that she verified for me. And she said that she was reading a Reddit story or watching a Reddit story. I don't know, I don't get on that stuff. And she said that in a Reddit story, that this guy, he was going out to get a job, and that he was doing fine at the job, doing good at the job, and all of a sudden the job would fail, right? And so, you know, the girlfriend would call him, how the job going and everything, and he'd say, oh, everything's going good, and then all of a sudden he would lose a job, and she'll be sitting there, baby, it's okay, and all that. Come to find out, she was the reason why he kept losing his jobs. Like, I don't, most likely planning spell work, most likely calling up there, most likely sending people in to cause problems, most likely. You understand? Sleeping, going there at jobs, acting like they just meeting people, starting to sleep with the boss, turning the boss against them, you know, stuff like that. Come to find out, it was the girlfriend the whole time, right? And so this is something that was taking place around me, where every time I would get a job, all of a sudden, you know, I never had no issues with no jobs, right? We all have our issues within the jobs when you get there, but I'm talking about it was abnormal, the problems that I was having. And this was something that I started to see, something in my spirit said that it's that person, right? It's this single person. And God showed me, right? I ended up calling somebody and I talked to them, and I was telling them that something that God shared with me about this person. And I said, you know, it was things that was taking place. I wasn't sure, right, at first. And so I called this person and told them some of the things. I had started this new job. I was at the job for like a month and a half. Everything was going good. Everybody liked me. It was fine. You know, everybody ain't gonna like you, but most of the people that matter, they liked me. I always been a good worker and all this stuff, right? Always on time, always showed up and all this stuff, right? And I never once had this issue where I get inside somewhere, y'all, one of the coworkers came up to me. And so, N-word jokes. I'm going to have to crop that out. N-word jokes, right? And so I turned around, looked at him, and I said, what are you doing? This guy was not even in his station. He walked all the way from the back where he's stationed at, all the way up to the front of my station, and he was working his way around doing this thing, right? Playing these games. And so I told him, get away from me, right? After me being there for a month and a half, he did this within like the fourth week of me being there, right? Because maybe the fourth, went into the fifth week or something like that. And by that sixth week, I was going through a temp service. And the temp service said, oh, the job said that you was no longer needed. Your assignment had ended. They didn't tell us why. You know the games that they play. The temp service was involved in it as well, right? And so I left it at that, right? And I was going to go to the Civil Rights Commission, but God told me leave it in his hands because let me tell you something. There's nothing like the results and the punishment of God. There's nothing no mere human can do like the way God can do it, right? I done seen God flip people's cars on the top of their heads playing. Yo, I got this on video recording. I got this on recording. You understand me? That I can show the whole world right now. This ain't something I'm making up. And so, anyways, but I noticed the week before that this happened, really 2 weeks before this happened, this person kept calling me, let me go back. When I first started, this person kept calling me, oh, how's everything going, and how everything's going fine, right? And how everybody do, and da-da-da-da-da, when they start somewhere. You see if you like it, if you don't like it. Everything was going good, right? You got your brownie points and your disappointment points, whatever. You're going to have your cons and pros. And so, by the third week, y'all, I started seeing these flies. And I'm like, where's all these flies and these nets and these moths coming from, right? And it's an African lady who worked there, and she really, really liked me. She always come over by me and talk to me, right? And one day she said to me, she didn't speak a lot of English. And so she pulled out her phone and she tapped, text in what she wanted to show me in English. And so She wrote on her phone, somebody's doing witchcraft, right? And it threw me off because I already sensed this. But this woman knew about this stuff, obviously, right, from her country. She said somebody's doing witchcraft. And so I asked her, what made you say that? And she basically messaged me. She said, when you first started, nothing. No flies, no nothing. She said you first started, first 2-3 weeks, no flies. By 4th week, flies, moths, gnats, right? She said that's a sign of witchcraft, basically. And so I said, I know, I figured that, right? And so she said, you know about it. And I said, yes. She said, so you know that that's what that is. And I said, yes, right? And so she said, you need to go home and pray. She kept telling me to go home and pray, right? Do you know that when this person would come, because I would get a ride there, right? I would use one of the apps and I get a ride there. And then this person would come pick me up from work. This woman, one day he pulled up and came pick me up. And this woman looked over at him, right? She was a very friendly, nice woman. She didn't talk to people, but she stayed in her lane. She really only talked to me. Her boyfriend worked it there, and I think somebody else that she knew worked it there or whatever. And she would always tell her boyfriend how she liked me and stuff like that. And then he started coming up to me and like talking to me on my break and all this stuff. They both be over there talking to me. And I would sit up under this tree and stuff outside because I would sit in the car, so I would sit up under the tree. And so she would come over there and sit up under the tree with me. And every now and again, he'd come over there and, give her food and, give her a hug and kiss and he'd go sit in the car. Stay in this place and stuff like that. Very respectful. They different. And so she sat up under the tree with me, and she kept messaging me on her phone. Like, she would message on her phone and then hand me her phone so I can read it. And so she said, she was basically telling me she need to pray. I need to go home and pray and stuff like that. And to bless myself, anoint myself. She said somebody is playing witchcraft. And so this is something I already knew. So do y'all know? He came and picked me up. He would always come and pick me up, but this woman never looked over in the car. She would get in her car and go home. Everybody walk out at the same time. She would get in her car. But within the last 2 weeks of me being there, she started to walk out and she would look over in the car at him. And I noticed that she had this very disturbed look on her face like this, turning her face up like she did not like him, right? She did not like this person. And so, a lot of times they kind of stay in their lane. And so she says, when I go back to work, within about the 5th week, she tell me, have you figured out who's doing it? And I said, I got an idea. And she said, I think it's the person that comes and pick you up. And she said, who is that to you? Right? Because she didn't know at first if this was a person that I knew or not, because they would see me get different people that come pick me up and drop me off. And I told y'all within the first couple of weeks, she never looked over in the car or nothing like that. But then the last 2 weeks of me being there, she began to look over in the car and seeing who was picking me up. And she started to see that it was the same person coming to pick me up every time. She told me that she felt it was him. And so do y'all know by the 5th week, this woman, one of the days, my supervisor came to me, he said, hey, asked me, he said, do you want to go home early? He said, we don't have no work. And I said, well, if I don't go home early, what I'm going to do? He said, be pushing that. He said, but it's 3 people that's staying here. And this, that, and the other. He said, you can stay, but you're going to be sweeping the whole time because ain't nothing to do, right? So I said, well, I'll sweep for like another hour and just go around cleaning up and stuff. And I said, until my ride get here. He said, okay, that's cool. Just let me know when you're about to clock out, right? So I said, all right, cool. I began to notice by the 4th week, I'm going to go back to something. I began to notice by the 4th week, people's behavior began to change drastically in the workplace. Mostly everybody's behavior began to change. They began to get weird, right? This is the effect of when people around you are not tapped into God, right? How they able to be used by the principalities and the forces, right? And so being that people, I can see who in there who didn't have faith in God, who didn't trust in God and all this stuff, because obviously they was able to be used. They went from being normal people, normal workers, to everybody was doing something weird. Everybody was doing something weird, right? And so she noticed it as well, right? She kept her composure and all that. She never changed up. She just whatever, right? She stayed the same. She stayed herself. And so she had faith in God. Her boyfriend had faith in God. And whoever that other person was an older guy who worked there with him as well, who would get rides back and forth with him. So I don't know if he was related to him. He was African as well, or if they just clicked because they were just all African, right? And so it was Mexican people in there that worked too. They didn't barely speak English. And so a lot of them liked me because, like I said, a lot of them didn't speak English. And if some of them did, it was very thick accent, so you can barely hear them. But being that I done worked around them so long and all this different stuff and different jobs and stuff like that, I learned to pick up on their language, and I got a better hearing for what they're saying. And so I'm going back up to the 5th week. So at the beginning of the 5th week, was it the end of the 4th week, going into the 5th week? Somewhere around there, y'all. Don't quote me. I got off of work early. This person was already off of work. And I called him. I said, hey, you can come get me now. And they said, okay, I'll be there in like 20, 30 minutes. I said, okay, well, he giving me an hour or so. So, just make sure you're here within that time frame. When this person came and picked me up, that woman like ended up walking me out to the door, and she looked over in the car again, and she kind of just had this look on her face like, it's him causing you the problems, it's him causing you these damn problems, right? Insecure, jealous, right? And so when you hear stuff, what people problem is that when somebody come and tell them something, they don't know how to shut the fuck up and keep their mouth shut, right? Even when people in relationships, right? These people go out and they run their mouth, right? A lot of, for instance, I had somebody who I would see certain things within the people around them, and I would share with them things that I've seen, right? By this being somebody I was in a relationship with them and wanting the best for them, I would share certain things with them and tell them, hey, I don't think that you need to be doing that with that person. I don't feel like that person is trustworthy. And what that person would do is go back and run their mouth. Oh, she said that she don't feel like you trustworthy, da 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 da. But what that person was, they was a coward, they was insecure, and they was jealous of me. And so with them being all those things, right? They knew that that person was that. They knew I was correcting what it was that I was saying. But people are sitting such ego and such jealousy and cunning and trifling energy that they feel like even if they know that that person is speaking the truth, whether it be me, you, them, and whoever, they will go and share that in hopes that because they shared that, for one, that person wouldn't do that to them, and for two, to put you on blast to make you look like something that you're not. And what those people do is they look at them and say, oh she said that, oh she wrong, it's her or it's him. They'll take the attention off of them, and then what they go do is attack that person as well as you. You get what I'm saying? So these people leave you open as well as themselves, like idiots. If you share something with somebody, you need to keep that person need to keep their mouth shut. And if somebody shares something with you, you need to keep your mouth shut and sit back and look from all angles at that thing. So when she shared that with me, I kept my damn mouth shut. That was none of that person's business what that person shared with me, right? And obviously she was well experienced in that area. And so, like, the average person say, oh, she African, she was doing it. No, she wasn't, right? I have great discernment. And this was something that was already on my heart because this is something that took place at a prior job as well. It wasn't to that extent where somebody came up and started making derogatory remarks, but it was just the place was going off the hinges. Everybody in there just looked like demons, right? Overnight, start acting weird like this, right? Figure if they caused enough problems with inside of the place, it would make me leave, right? And so this is something that already had took place. And so when that person came and verified it, this is something that I really already knew, but you don't have the full proof or the full evidence, but you know what's taking place. And so when she said that to me, it was like, okay, yeah, I know I ain't tripping on what the fuck it is that I'm seeing and what it is that I know. And so when I went up to the door and I clocked out, wait for this person to pull up, they could say, oh, I'm right at the corner, right? But something was strange about this day because normally when this person said that they coming, they be there right away. But this day they kept saying, oh, I'm right at the corner, and they was not right at the corner, right? So she was standing there with me because she was going to leave too early that day, but she was going to leave after me, right? She had to wait for her boyfriend to clean up and whoever else they was with to get up to the front. And so me and her standing up there talking, right? I'm hearing what I'm hearing because her accent was very thick, but I couldn't understand majority of it, right? And what I couldn't understand, she always kept her phone out to pick up on what it was so I can kind of read and go along with what it was that she was saying. So me and her standing there talking. When this person pulled up, she just looked over at them with that mean look again. Like she just could not stand them, right? A person know a good person. A person know a good person with a good heart. And a person know when somebody not right. And so I went on here and got in the car, right? But this day, something bothered me within the way that she looked. It's almost like she just did not want me to go with this person. Like, damn, just come, I'll take you. It's like she wanted to say, I'll take you, right? Do y'all know that when I got in the car with this person, I had already told them when you come get me, I need to go to this particular grocery store to grab a couple things. Do y'all know that the grocery store was right around the corner from the workplace that I worked at? And when I went inside of there, this person dropped me off at the door, which was weird because this person normally just parks and just go in with me, right? This person dropped me off at the door, which I found odd, but I didn't pay no attention. And as I'm getting my things and my bags out of the car, it was a woman, an older woman, within her 50s or 60s, that walked up. She's dressed in all black with all these bangles and stuff on, y'all, my right hand on the Bible. When she walked up, now, even if this person knew this person, the fact that this person got a different car, the fact that this person got that it's dark outside, you're not going to just turn around and know it's that person unless you've been in communication with that person. You understand me? I don't care how long you've been knowing somebody. If I ain't seen my family member in 15 years, I don't know what car they driving. I don't know, and it's dark outside. I wouldn't know to turn around and look at that person and say, oh, that's them in that car, right? You ain't going to know none of that. And so what threw me off, right? When I got out the car and as I'm reaching down, grabbing my stuff because I'm in the truck, right? So I got out of the car and I got my bag on the floor and I'm trying to grab all my things and what I'm trying to take in the store, gather them to get a car and go ahead and go in the store. As I'm gathering my items, this woman strolls across the front of the car, and it ain't that he looked out and said something to her. She already seemed to know what car she was going to, which was his. She walked straight up like she was going in the door, and she turned straight around and say, oh, hey, how you doing? And he gets out the car and give her a hug, right? Like it was just a chance meeting, right? And so she's standing there. She's like, oh, yeah, he used to be best friends with my son. I used to watch them when they was kids, and my son passed away and all this stuff, right? And his name was such and such and such and such, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, hi, how you doing? And I look at him, I look at her, and I look at the husband, but the husband face tell it all. He was looking down, he wouldn't look at me in my face. And so I go ahead and I go in the store, but what I noticed is that once I went in the store, y'all, I was in that store for at least about 20 minutes before they walked in. So I stayed kind of like by the door. I was in the store for about 20 minutes before they walked in. So there's not that much talking and catching up, and I know this person, right, that you can be doing with somebody. And so do y'all know I went inside of this damn store, y'all? Was in there for like 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, she comes around a bend, right? She was sure to find me in that store. And so she's sitting on a little sit-down cart. You know the ones that you go in the grocery store and you pick out a cart. You pick the one, a sit-down cart. Y'all know I'm talking about the little buggy carts that you sit down on. She's on one of them, and her husband's walking by her. But I noticed when she stopped to try to talk to me, he kept his distance. He kind of bagged up some, right? He was walking, but he kept his distance, right? He knew whatever it was that was going on was foul. Do y'all know, as she talking to me, I'm like, oh, okay. And she trying to tell me about how she noticed the son and how her son passed and all these things, right? And she then goes on to try to say, oh, yeah, because this is my room. I'm a witch, and this is the room that I got, and da-da-da-da, and I take pride in my work, and da-da, she rambling on about her work and how she a witch and all this stuff. This lady had the nastiest, eeriest feeling around her. I couldn't even stand by her. I had to keep my distance. Her energy was so nasty. Y'all, hold on, I was looking for my charger. Her energy felt so nasty, y'all. It was so many dead people with this woman. Not because they liked her. It's because the type of work she did. When she first got up to the car, I instantly walked away from her because of the feeling was so eerie. And I didn't even know why I felt that way. But something in my stomach was just like, get the fuck on. Like, don't stand there and talk to her. Right? So I said, okay, I'm going to the grocery store. It's nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Y'all have a good one, right? And so they stood out there and kept talking to him. Like I said, I was in the grocery store for about 20 minutes before they go ahead and come in. And I could tell that she was looking for me. She didn't just come in and was trying to buy anything. She came in on a mission. This person had called her. This was a friend of their family. Now, mind you, this is the same person that I have been talking about spiritual warfare to, talking about how people playing spell work and all this stuff, right? Thinking I'm teaching them something, this person playing stupid in my face. And the whole time, you playing stupid in my face and like you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but y'all got a family witch, right? And the thing about it is that this person did just pop up. You called them to do something because you was jealous and you was insecure, right? I'm the type of person that when I'm on my break, I enjoy my break. I don't talk on my breaks. I don't call people like that on my breaks. None of that, right? I watch my little videos, might read a Bible chapter. Whatever the hell I want to do on my break, that's what I do. Your break is for your break. My break is not to call you and sit on there. For anybody who work, your breaks go by extremely fast. 20, 30 minutes turn into 2 minutes real quick. And so, I know, where's my charger piece at? I had it on that thing. Y'all looking for my charger. But, so this person was like, oh, you don't never call me on your breaks. I said, I ain't never called you on my breaks. I ain't called you on my breaks before I started dealing with you like that. And when I started dealing with you like that, I didn't call you on my breaks. And any job I ever went to, I never called you on my breaks like that. We done talked about this multiple times. So this person was insecure, trifling, and underhanded, right? We would say, oh, why you wearing that to work, right? Y'all, it would be something like I worked inside of a factory, so it would be like some Nike shorts that was down to my knees and a Nike top that matched it, right? That was down to my waist. And some tennis shoes. Oh, you mean why am I getting dressed? Why am I washing my ass to come to work? I mean, I'm not understanding what this person is saying. And I noticed leading to the weeks up to the last 2 weeks, this person became more and more and more insecure. Oh, why did you wear that? Oh, why did you do your hair like that? Oh, why did just stupid ass questions, right? And so when that woman said what she said, right, everything came back to me when I seen that woman in the store and how we was talking about witchcraft and all this stuff. Now they said when she said that he's doing it, right? This motherfucker, I do believe wholeheartedly, called that woman and asked that woman to get me fired from my job, however it had to go, right? You never know how it's going when you're going to play in witchcraft. But see, God knew the time, day, and the hour. These are people who've been doing this type of stuff to people out of their own insecurity and interfering with their lives and playing God in people's lives. And God is God. You understand me? Ain't nobody God. And so for a person to come around you, come into your life and feel like they're going to play God because they're insecurity and they're unhealed. And these type of people are trying to flip from relationship, friendship, and partnership without doing the healing, right? And then they think that they're going to go into somebody else's life and control them and not do the healing work on themselves, right? Play God in that person's life. They got another thing coming. And we're going to go back into the story, what I said earlier. A lot of these people have been doing this type of stuff to multiple different people. But see, God just had it with these people. Like I told you, God don't get a baby and a fool. And so when it comes to you, there will be reparations. These people been going around from person to person to person, playing God in people's lives, being con artists, liars, and manipulative. And then coming around God's people playing like they don't know better. They don't know what's going on, right? And so as I'm coming around this person and I'm telling them about the different things that I done seen, different experiences and stuff like that, and how all these people is now playing in witchcraft. I said so many people nowadays just playing in witchcraft like that shit is fucking cool. They don't even got the proper knowledge to be planning certain stuff, and yet they're going around planning certain stuff they have no business. And then you got some people who really don't know about it like that anyways, but they're so desperate that they'll do something out of desperation and jealousy and envy, right? Being controlling. And so that woman sat in that store and talked about how she was a witch and how she was this and that, right? She had on all black and she had on all these silver like bangles and all this stuff. And this woman had such a trifling energy on her, y'all. It was not even funny. And so she began to tell me about her son, but God told me cut the conversation short. Don't let her talk to you, right? And so out of respect, I sit there, I listened to her for a second. I said, okay, well, I have to go. I said, he's waiting in the car, and he was talking about something about he was going to go play some pool or something like that, right? And so she's like, oh, okay, and da-da-da-da. And it was nice meeting you. And she tried to bring up the ex that he was dealing with and all this stuff. For you not to have seen him for years and know this and that, you know too much of the business of what's going on took place in this person life, that person life, this person life, and that person life. People I don't even know. Why are you bringing these people up to me? I don't give a damn about none of them people, right? But what she was trying to do was hold the conversation to fill out the energy. But see, this what happened. Let me tell y'all something. The woman had already did the work. When me and the woman had started seeing flies and stuff within the 3rd and 4th week, that woman had already did the work. And so he had already paid for the work to be done. And so what started to happen, it was a backfire that she ain't never experienced in her life that took place. And so shall it be. You understand? The backfire, see, if something is not for you, right, God is not going to waste your time. If something is for you, things will go a different way. But when somebody do something and it shifts you in a different direction, that thing was not for you, and God got something better for you. What these people don't understand when they doing these type of things is that I always tell you, I love the story of Job. It cannot go through unless God lift up that hedge of protection in order for that thing to go through. You understand? It's about perception. And so if God allowed something to take place in your life, that means that thing a lot of times was not for you and it was going to waste your time, right? These people don't understand that when they're doing things, that they're actually pushing you on your correct timeline. But even if that thing went through, okay, the man came up to me, started saying N-word jokes, derogatory remarks. This person was worked all the way in the back of the building, but yet he found himself all the way up in the front of where I worked at and trying to go around talking to people. And then he landed up to me. I don't know this man. I don't talk to you. Why are you next to me? Why are you by me? Why are you standing talking to me, right? And this person had a demon on them. What I noticed is that that night when I went on break, right before the man had did that, it was a full moon. And something in my spirit kept saying, whatever happened, control yourself. I didn't know why I was getting that message, control yourself. And when that man came up to me and was talking, singing N-word jokes, I told him, I said, you need to get the fuck away from me. You need to bag up and you need to find your space, right? And so I had to go and I said, hey, I told the supervisor, I said, hey, I told the one lady first and she was doing little stuff. She started getting weird. She started walking around trying to mimic and mock me and act like me, y'all. I had like some burgundy hair in. She came in the next week with burgundy hair in, right? All these things begin to take place, right? These people are weirdos. And it's a lot of times God lets you see people for who they is, and God will let you enter into a place in a space, right? A lot of you be at the time, you be at the place you're supposed to be at for the amount of time you're supposed to be there. Because like I said, some of you guys are the equalizer, right? And so even if you was in that space, in that place for a small bit of time, a lot of times even those spaces and places have been doing very nasty and vulgar things, right? And another thing that I noticed about that space and place is that it was very family oriented type of thing, right? So even if like the owner wasn't family members with those people, what happened is you get a supervisor in there, and then that supervisor tell his buddy about it, and then he got his buddy in there, his best friend buddy, and then they began to bring in all of their family, right? And so you got that family over there and with all them people, and then you got that family over there with all them people. And what they have been doing is any outsiders that come in right around that time, y'all, God kept giving me this book, The Outsiders. When I was in the 7th grade, I remember reading a book, The Outsiders. That's my favorite book. But around that time, that book, the name of that book started coming up to me, The Outsiders, right? And I remember talking to this person in the car about it, like, dang. I said, have you ever read The Outsiders? And the person was like, oh, have you ever read this book? Have you ever read the 48 Laws of Power? See, this is why God is tearing these people ass up. The 48 Laws of Power? You're weak. What are you talking about? You poor as fuck. Talking about the 48 Laws of Power. Man, you're supposed to be rich. Talking about that shit. You broke as fuck talking about the 48 laws. Oh, you going into people's lives, being destructive, being cunning, being underhanded, being tactful, and you're manipulating the average Joe off the 48 laws of power. Why don't you go and manipulate somebody that's worth manipulating? Why don't you go get yourself in rooms and get yourself in situations that's going to have you in a grand place in life? Not going to little Sally's life and then try to operate our little Bibby's life and then try to implement the 48 laws of power into their life. You got a different type of ass whooping coming to you. And see, this is why God is letting his people visit these type of people. I need y'all to hear me and understand something, right? all the way down to the workplace and the workspaces. A lot of these people are operating in low vibrational, and God wants you to go in there so they can do it to you, so he can wipe the whole place out. Some of y'all are nothing but mere tools and equalizers and the watchers. You understand me? They make everything sound like it's outside of us, so you can feel like nothing, so you can always grab on power to power that's not even there. The power is within self, and they're going to take that away from you, take who you are, your power, and tell you to give it up to something in the deity so they can eat off of it. Ooh, they going to stop me, shut me down now. That's why it's a different hole in the house every time I come in here. And so, you are the watchers. You are the equalizers. You are all these things, right? There is things outside of us, I do believe. There is a God, I do believe, right? But also, you are part of that, right? You are a part of God's operation. Especially when you become one within God. When you go and you say, okay, God, we going to do this thing. Okay, God, do what you need to do with me, right? What make you chosen is for you to step into the position and that authority. The authority that is given once you choose to step on your path. You understand? And so once you choose to step onto that path, that's when all those magical things start coming to be, right? And so anyways, y'all. Anyways, I'm going to keep going what I was saying with this story. I'm about to get up off of here, y'all. It's time for me to go. It's over. What I was saying. So after that guy did that, I went and said something to the supervisor. I said, hey, get your dude, tell your dude he need to go back to his space. He over there making derogatory remarks, right? And the guy says, what's happened? What did he say to you? And I told you what he said. I said, hey, he over there talking about this. He making N-word jokes and all this stuff, right? And I said, well, other people said that they didn't want to say nothing because y'all done fired all the other people who had to say something about the same person in here doing the same thing, right? And one girl came to me. She said, they gonna end up firing you. I said, I don't give a damn. I do not care about none of that. She said, because it was another black dude in the back. And he was a good worker. He was here on time every day. And she said, girl, that same person said something to him, and he had to go say something to them. And she said the next week they fired him. I said, okay, I don't care about none of that, but they gonna hear me roar. And I said, and that's why I'm here today. I said, the problem is this. Everybody want to shut up. Everybody want to keep the space in a place that's not for them, right? Everybody willing to say, I'm gonna tone myself down and even smile in the enemy's face. Even the person people don't want to see because they signing me a paycheck. I don't think so. That's not how it works. Why are you got to be uncomfortable, or why you got to feel like you did something wrong when somebody came and did something wrong to you? Why you got to sit in the energy of wrongdoing and guilt and shame when somebody came and did that to you? What is we doing here? What is we doing here? What is going on, right? So I'm supposed to sit in guilt, shame, hold on to that energy because he just came and did that to me? I don't think so. And I said, and the man who came before me didn't know God, but I do, and that's why I'm here. She ain't know what to say. I'm tired of these people. I said they go whatever they need to do. And the following week, they kept me for like a week after that. And then coming to that, I was off that Friday. We was off on that Friday. We was off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We worked 10-hour shifts. We was off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that Friday came. On the day I was off, the temp service called me, and she was one of the ones who played game as well. Calling me, giving me hours that I already told her I couldn't work, right? Because when you go into a temp service, a lot of times you say, hey, I could do this time, not that time. This is the best time. You give them your time, what's best for you. So when something come through, they can feel you in a space that's good for them and you. You understand? She kept calling me after that. She called me like twice after that. We got a time for this time, 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, didn't I tell you I can only do evening shifts? Why are you calling me telling me what you got in the morning? Playing games, right? This is the same one. The next job came around, and she said, oh, they got to do, you got to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. They paying this much, right? And also, we need to do, mind you, they had just did my background check a month and a half prior to that job, right? So it wasn't no need for them to run my background again. She said, oh, we got to run your background again because they got to go back all the way till you were 17 years old. I said, ooh, really? I said, I guess, right? I texted her, I said, I guess, right? But this is a person who was jealous, envious, as well, playing the games too. And she thought that she was going to assign me jobs and thought she was going to petition me around like a prostitute so other people can see me. You know how they used to take slaves? They said it was this woman who had a big booty and big hips, and she was pretty as hell, and that they had put chains on her and tried to make her, they stripped her, and I forgot the woman's name. But around that time that this woman contacted me, that woman's video, it was like a slavery video, popped up on my phone, and it was about a slave woman who had big booty and big hips, really small waist, and that they would take her in the middle of the street naked and walk her around with a chain on her like she was a dog, like an animal, and all this stuff, right? This is what this woman thought that they was going to do, but this was a big back salad. She was big back, eating cheeseburgers all day, shoving the stuff in her face, bad built body. You know what I'm saying? What that woman say on there? The white woman tried to come for that black lady sitting on that, what was like Congress or something, and the woman tried to say something to the black woman about, because if it has something to do with false eyelashes, fake hair, and all this stuff. And they never said nothing to take up for the woman. So she said, are we allowed to talk like that and this, that, and the other? And they try not to say nothing to be smart. And she said, so if I say that we have a bad built, big back, blind, dirty blonde head, right? Then I ain't getting in trouble for that, right? And everybody busted out laughing when she said her joke, right? And now she want to feel bad. Now she's sitting in the corner feeling shameful. But the thing about it is, now you want to play victim. Why is it that they do it to you, them? Everybody do it to you, and it's all sitting there, ooh. But when you go to defend yourself, oh, you know you wrong. You know, I'm that person everybody want to say, oh, you wrong, girl, you wrong. After somebody done taunted at you for 3 years and everybody sit there and watch it and look with smiles and glee on their face. When you take up for yourself, right? Now you something wrong with you. Oh, you just did it for nothing. Knowing how they attacking you, knowing how they coming for you, right? This woman contacted me. She was supposed to contact me. We don't know why, but we have another position for you. She waited like 2-3 weeks to call me back for a position. Thought I was gonna be begging. Y'all was sitting in my bed twiddling my toes, honey. Twiddling and snacking. You hear me? And she called me back and said, oh, and the only reason why she called me back is to keep going, right? Mind you, I said that when I was working at this job, I got to this job every single day on time with my own money, my own finances, right? When you start a job, you don't get paid. Even if you get paid every week, you still have to wait 2 weeks for a payment. I got to that job every single day on time, never not late one time, right? With my own finances. When they finally did start paying, they took so much chunk out of the first check between the temp service and the real job, the other job, right? And I asked the woman, I said, is that right for them to take $380 out of your check? She said, what the fuck you just say? Right? Because this job was a job that you couldn't just go straight in. Everybody had to go through the temp service, except for the people who got hired in. That was all family, right? You had this Mexican guy, or his family was there. There was this other guy there, white man there, right? And all his family was there, right? These two, all their family was inside of this place. And the outsiders got treated really badly. And the ones that was in there who had to take it for themselves, they got fired. They was purposely coming for them because they didn't want black people working in there. And the other 2 black people, they tucked their tails. And so they was cowards. And so I guess whatever it takes to feed your family. And so these people, she did not contact me because she was worried about me or wanted to get me into a job, right? She contacted me because they was in there running their mouths. All the temp service that was, because it's like 3 of these certain temp services in my little city, right? And so they all began to run their mouth in between the temp services, right? That temp service over there, that temp service over there, that temp service over there. They all came together and began to run their mouths. And so this woman called me back after like 3 weeks. And I'm like, really? And so she said, oh, they let you go. And we don't know why, but they said it was just they didn't have no work in the service, it was up and all this stuff, but we don't know why, right? And I said, well, why are you telling me you don't know why? Because I wasn't going to never ask you if you knew why or not. I don't care enough to know, right? She was so mad, right? Because when people do stuff, they expect for you to be upset. Your attitude is said to be like this, and we're very much so stereotyped. So we're supposed to be asking why, we're supposed to be begging, or we're supposed to get really upset and fighting, we're supposed to be in jail, right? And so they didn't expect for me to answer in the way which I answered. So when she called back after almost 3 weeks, when she was supposed to call me right back that next Monday, right? Because I contacted her on Friday. And when she contacted me on that Friday, she said what she said, and she thought I was going to call back. But she left me a voicemail at first and told me to call back. And so when I called back, just when she expressed everything that was going on, and we don't know why. We don't know why, though. She kept trying to say, we don't know why, though. I said, oh, I don't care enough to know why. I know how this stuff go. Whatever. And so she said, well, I'll contact you Monday and let you know what we have available, da-da-da-da-da. She never contacted me. I said, oh, okay. And so out of that, I think like within that week when she said she was supposed to contact me, because my phone was off, she said that she was going to contact me Monday, and she was very upbeat about it. She really wasn't too negative about it. So that Tuesday come around, on that weekend, I had to pay my cell phone. So I didn't know if they tried to call me and they weren't able to get through. So that Tuesday, I went on to pay my cell phone bill that Monday. And then that Tuesday, I called her back to see if she called her to see if she called. I said, hey, did you call me? I said, my phone was off and da-da-da-da. I said, I just cut it back on, but I didn't know if you called me Monday. I didn't want to miss your call. Oh, no, we're still looking and da-da-da. I said, okay, well, I'm only calling you because you said you was going to call me Monday. So I didn't know if you actually contacted me or not. Oh, no, we're still looking. I said, okay, well, you have a blessed one, right? And I went on about my life. And so, like I said, she waited about like damn near like 2 going into 3 weeks to call me back. But it was more so, I feel like, because they thought I was going to keep calling and pressing them like a button down on a Friday night, Nicki lyrics. And I did not do that. And so she called and she said, oh, this is how I know the conversation was all over. They was involved with the job and all these things, right? This is something that I already knew what was going on, but they confirmed it with the actions and the conversation. So she says, oh, yeah, we have a new job available. It starts at 6 a.m. And I said, 6 a.m., what are you talking about? Yeah, 6 a.m. And then we have to run another background check, and we need to go all the way back to when he was like 17 years old. The games. Oh, and the job is on a bus line. I said, what you telling me about a bus line for? Right? These people, when I went up to go sign up for this temp service, I was in the car. I drove there. So what is you talking to me about a bus line for? for them to know that I was getting using one of the apps to get a ride back and forth, right? It was all jealousy. How did she get money to get herself back and forth a week? I mean, at least for the first 2 weeks, all that type of stuff, right? So, but how would they know that if they was not in contact with the job? Because I was getting dropped off to the job every day before the time. You understand? So it's like, how would y'all know that? Because I never talked to y'all after that. I went to work and that was that. And so they was all running their mouth about what I can afford, what I can't afford. These are the type of people that, even though they cause you problems, and you're not there anymore, they come hunting you down in your regular lives, right? A lot of these people, they try to do all these things to use you as a puppet, and they think that if I take this, then you're going to move this way. If I do this, you're going to do that, right? And the response is not what they think it is, and a lot of these people grow obsessions with us. They grow, when you connected into God like that, they grow secret obsessions, and a lot of times their life be falling apart behind the scene, and they can't see that their life is shattering, the whole world is shattering, because they so busy focused in on you, they ain't wash their ass, they ain't wash their face, they ain't brush their teeth, they can't move without tapping into you first throughout the day, all day, every day, right? These are the type of people who don't want you to make money. These are the type of people, but y'all, anyways, these people grow obsessions very bad, very, very, y'all, I done left a job, right? They did me wrong, caused problems, did all this stuff. I leave. I don't put up fights. I just keep on moving. Keep on pushing, right? Especially when I know I have been an awesome worker. I done showed up every day on time. I do my job. And see, what I started to notice as well, a lot of people with inside of these companies are so fucking miserable, right? You know how you get days off after working at a company for so long, right? I remember I would have days off, and these people I would literally see somebody popping up. On certain apps, you can see who's watching your stuff and who came to visit your stuff. These people all on side of my stuff, trying to find me. People that I don't even talk. I don't give people my information, right? My social media information, especially in the workplace. All them motherfuckers too miserable, right? We know the gang. And so, I would see certain people at my workplace popping up, showing that they had visited my page, all this stuff. Like, how did you even find me on here? My name is not even that. Yo, I done left a company, been gone from that company for like 2 or 3 years, and somebody that worked at the company, right, that popped up on my stuff. And I'm like, well, how long was you searching for me, for you to be on my stuff, trying to invite me to be a friend or whatever, right? Trying to send me a friend request, right? These are the type of people who have been looking for you since you left. These are the same people that helped these people, Uncle Times, that helped cause you problems when you was there. Well, help them cause you problems while you was there. They was insecure, jealous, trifling, underhand, tactful, right? Ass kissers, doodle brown nose, all that type of stuff while you was there. And then they come hunting for you because their life fall apart, right? These people lives fall apart after they do what it is because they didn't understand that they've been doing this type of stuff to people, but you was just the first and the last one that they was gonna get away with it with. You understand? And so they don't understand the mission that God got you on. And see, God will have you look a certain type of way, right? An angel with a big booty, aliens with small waist. You understand? God will have you position and look a certain type of way to throw them off your sin, and they don't understand who you are and who you are to God and what role you play in this world. And so they come, run up, get done up, run up, get done up. They run up and get done up. Everybody go down. Everybody go back into their original lives. What I know is this. A lot of times when we hit places, right, when God's people, when we touch down, when we step our foot across that threshold, for one, our feet are blessed anywhere we go, right? You bring a certain type of energy, right? You bring a certain type of umph into a place in the space, right? And so I noticed when I started working inside of certain places that everybody would be so down. They just be like, Charlie Brown, it's another day. Everybody was so great, right? But being that your presence hit that building, you ain't got to do nothing but be yourself, be a good worker that you are, show up on time like you do, and your presence will cause people to do things and be things that they never was, right? And so I remember I was working in this one place. Hold on, y'all, I got to go back for a second about what I was saying about this lady before I get off topic. So I was talking about the temp service I was going through. When she called me going into the third week, if not the third week, they all knew, she knew what happened. And all this stuff, but she lied. So we don't know why. I want me to be like, someone please God, this happened, all that. I ain't saying none of that because I got God. You're going to be dealt with and everybody else. And if you was involved, you're going to be dealt with this too. Right? But anyways, y'all, so everything that me and her discussed in the interview, everything, the do's, the don'ts, the ins and outs, what I can do, what I can't do, what they can't do, whatever, right? And what they can't do, right? This woman had went against it, right? And so I ended up messaging the lady, and I said, I just want to know, why is it that come to find out, it was two different women calling me. So to be honest, I think that the first woman who actually called me for the job was the correct person, and she didn't mean any harm. Like, she was actually trying to get me into the place. And so it was another woman who found out that she reached out to me, and she kept trying, the same woman who said something at the background check, the same woman who was involved about the bus schedule. What did you tell me about the bus schedule? You need to go sit on the bus because you can't fit in your car. You understand? You need to go find a bus station, and you need to get off and walk to the place because you are gaining weight by the fucking second. These are people who are not satisfied with the way they look, and they want to come and be bullies. You can't sit with us, assholes, but I don't want to sit with you. You smell like cheese and milk up under your underpits and your neck. And so And these type of people, they purposely do things to outcast you, but they don't know what to do when they try to outcast you, but you already been sitting by yourself your whole life, right? This is what I'm saying, that a lot of y'all are the equalizer. A lot of you guys are meant to go into these people's lives and show them that what they have been doing can't work on everybody, right? It's to break them down. God will use you to break these people down, right? And so, without you doing nothing but being who you are. And so, she said, oh, yeah, it's this, it's that, this time. And so when I messaged this phone back, I said, I don't know if they all got, what is that called? Like when people on call and different people take the phones. When I messaged the phone back, I said, hey, I want to know why you are telling me about first shift and all this stuff. And I said, you said, oh, only for, then she turned around and said, oh, it's only for training. I said, well, how long is training going? Oh, I don't know. It just depends because you got a lot of stuff. You know, you got a lot of work history. You got all these different things. So I don't know. And da-da-da-da. I said, what are you talking about? Right? So I left it alone, but I messaged her and I said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do no first shift. And so another lady said, hi, this is such and such. She said, I tried to reach out to you to see what time worked best for you. I said, well, I called back and somebody else must answer the phone. So, and she said, no. She said, if you pick second shift and that's what you said. She said, no, they do have second shift training. She said, but if you want to, you can do at least 1 or 2 of the days in the morning so we can do how we normally do. And I can do your training with the regular stuff and the paperwork through our company for that part of it. And she said, you could do 1 day or 2 days. I said, but she told me that she ain't know how long it was going to be. It might be over a month. She said, no, what are you talking about? And so that let me know that this woman who did the stuff with the background, who the one who was involved in calling me with the bullshit through the company, all this stuff, right? It was a big mix up because she was trying to go do her own thing and be foul and vulgar, underhanded and tactful, right? She was very jealous and underhanded and big back. And so she thought she was going to do whatever she was and she wanted to do. But the other woman who was actually honest, I do believe in her workings and what it is that she was supposed to be doing, right? But if you work with somebody and you work in the same stall as somebody, you don't want to get mixed up in that. So it's like, what the hell is going on, right? What are you doing? And I do believe eventually she found out what she was doing. Then this woman turns around and messaged me again after this woman tried to get it sorted out, right? I told her, no, it's all right. Nope, I ain't got. I said, y'all telling me about steel toe boots now. Nope, I ain't got none. I said, y'all got all this time to tell me about this and tell me about that, right? You can't tell me that I need no steel toe boots within a day or two before me getting into a place. That's not how it's going to work. Whether I had them or not, that's none of their business. I didn't like the games they was playing. That woman was playing. And I knew it was out of jealousy and envy, and her in there abusing and misusing her position because she didn't like how big her back was. And so instead of eating a salad every day, she was choosing to go to McDonald's. And I'm not making fun of heavier set people, but I'm going to make fun of people who think that they bullies and they being nasty to people and trying to manipulate somebody's life, knowing that person got bills as well as children to take care of as well. You don't care about how that person's life go and how it goes downhill and how you manipulate their money and their funds out of your jealousy and insecurity with your big back dusty ass, right? These people need to be attended to immediately. They need to be, right? You're not going to bully me. I don't care what position you hold. And a lot of these people are in positions they don't like themselves, and they're taking advantage of their positions, and they're not doing their jobs. And instead of doing their jobs, they think they're going to do what they want to do, right? And so that woman used her job to dig off in my background. Wasn't even nothing there. But this woman used her job to dig off in my background to go digging up certain stuff and doing stuff she had no business doing. And so that's why God going to mess with her funds, her finances, and she going to get, I'm not even going to say the rest, right? These type of people have to get dealt with, right? I always tell you, I ain't the first one, but I will be the last one. When God send me in, I always tell people, somebody in trouble, 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 trouble. Especially in places and spaces like this. And so she did it. She waited again, right? She snuck and grabbed that phone again. And she messaged me and she said, oh, there's a job opportunity available, but it says no smoke. She said, oh, but this company says no smoking, right? This is the same big back woman. She in trouble now. Somebody had seen what she was doing, and she just snuck and grabbed the phone. Thought she was going to be cunning and tactful again. So she said, oh, this new company, but it says no, they got openings, but it says no smoking, right? You can't smoke cigarettes. You can't do this. You can't do that. I said, why are you messaging me? What's going on? I said, that is so sad. I said, it's so sad that you are so insecure within yourself. I said, every single thing that me and you discussed in that interview, you have went against. Every single thing that I told you for my available time, I said to the time I can start, to what I do, what I can't do, what I can do, what I got to provide, right? We went over all these things in that interview, right? I said, but you know that in detail. I said, because every single thing me and you discussed, I said, you have turned around and used it as a weapon. I said, I think that you need to go get some mental health help, right? It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to go get mental health assistance. Right? I said, for you to do what you are doing and think that it is okay and what it is that you're doing, I said, it's beyond me. I said, and then for you to constantly do what it is that you're doing, being nasty and tactful and taking advantage of your position, I said, and then when I say something, I'm the crazy one. When I call out what you're doing, y'all go scream, wolf, right? And say, that's not happening, right? Oh, she just said this to me. Knowing that these people are doing what it is. And they feel like because they hold these certain positions that you're not supposed to take up for yourself, right? That you're going to just keep going around and bringing and playing this game with them. But when you finally step up and speak up, now they're playing victim. You can't play victim because every single thing that I talk to you about, you have went completely against purposely. And it's crazy that you're doing things, right? I never told you about me not driving. You see me drive up there. But you and that other job was in contact on what it is that y'all was doing and what y'all was going to do after that man came up to me and called me a derogatory remark, right? What y'all used to do, right? Because y'all in contact with that job. And a lot of people are related to people because I stay in a very small town, right? And one thing I was always told when I was a kid, most of the time, everybody know everybody. And if that person don't know that person, it's normally somebody that they know that you know. This is how small the city and town is. It's not big, right? And so I don't care what background they're from, African American, white. A lot of times people know everybody or know somebody that knows somebody, right? And so a lot of times these type of people, they think that they're going to cause you problems. Then when you go to just take up for yourself, they're going to play victim, right? Like that guy off of Futurama. Remember, he used to walk around, what was that, a squid? And he used to walk around with that coat on, that little doctor coat. And he'd get mad or somebody say something, he'd say, right? When they get caught out, they just run out, right? On some type shit. And then some of y'all, right, are living in a space and a place where it's like real life Truman Show shit that's set up around you, right? And so things are becoming repetitive and boring. And so it's like, let's turn up the heat. That shit is real. That shit, I just told you I stay in a small town, right? And so that Truman Show shit is real. Every time I come in the house, there's a new hole in this wall, right? We know from a lot of other people that these things are taking place in a lot of our lives, right? That Truman Show type reality where everybody is in on it. And so when you become great and you become tapped in and you start to see the signs, right? And you start to grow a real relationship with God, not that fake stuff that they tell y'all to do. And you become one within self, your eyes begin to open up to the things around y'all. That's why it's vital for y'all to heal. It's vital for y'all to get over the trauma and work through the trauma, get through the trauma, and get over the trauma that these people purposely put you in, right? And the thing about it is, a lot of this stuff is becoming boring, right? Because you're not feeding into it like you used to do because awareness is key. You understand? And so being that you're not feeding off into it anymore, these people are turning up the heat. Because why would the hell would this man come up to me and call me to talk about in this and in that and show me jokes? Do I look like I got a fucking hard drive stuck to my forehead to you? Bitch, I am not a joke. I'm not a game. So you don't see no hard drive attached to me or my ass. Sir, boy. They don't deserve to be called no man. They boys. Boy. Do you see a hard drive stuck to my head, boy? Do I look a game to you? That's what my baby daddy said to me. One time, my daughter dad. One day I was walking and I said something to him. He said, "What you say?" I said, "You heard what I said." He said, Do I look like I got a hard drive stuck to my forehead?" I said, "What? What are you talking about?" He said, "Do I look like I got a hard drive stuck to my forehead? Do I look like a motherfucking game to you?" Y'all, he said that to me years ago. I remembered it, and that was it, right? I said, this dude crazy, right? And that's the punchline. Do I look like I got a fucking hard drive stuck to my forehead? Do I look like a goddamn game? No, I don't, right? So get the fuck out my face. Out of all the people you come up here playing with, don't play with me. Don't play with me. Get away from me with that, right? But we got these Truman Show setups, right? They getting bored, so we turn up the heat. Then you also got these people playing in witchcraft, right? A lot of y'all business, lover, friends, jobs, they all in on this thing, right? Then you got the fact that a lot of these people are in involvement of stealing, siphoning, and taking things from you, right? Money, inheritance, houses, all this stuff. And so they're turning up the heat. So be very careful in how you respond to certain people, right? Y'all, I left the house one day. And what was I about to say? Y'all, I ended up getting on one of these apps to give me a ride. Y'all, I love give me a ride, chauffeur, right? I like having me a chauffeur. And the person that dropped me off, their eyes was wired, right? They wasn't from here, and I'm noticing a lot of more people coming to this little video city, state, and town, and they look off, right? A lot of human trafficking, sex trafficking going on here as well. And you can just see it. It's different. It's becoming different. It's because the place is so corrupt. It's pulling in this type of energy. And this is what I'm saying about Babylon. God is calling some of his people to leave from out of some of these places and spaces because it's time for it to go down in the DM. It's time for it to go down. And so a lot of these people know that your presence is the only thing that's keeping the space in place and intact, right? This is how powerful some of you guys is, and they don't want y'all to know it. This is why they come to drill hills. Hills have eyes in the wall. They doing all this weird stuff, right? My grandson came here. It's another one. We got a hole here, y'all. We got a hole over here, right across from the couch, playing games, right? The couch right here. I had to take my pillows off and wash my pillowcases. But we got a hole right there. We got a hole right there, right? It's a big old hole right above my little bird cage. I had to put that up there for right now because you see that big old hole right there? Then these are newer holes in the front room. Them holes was not there. Then we got 2 holes above the tub, right? Then in the room, y'all, it was 2 holes. Now it's 4 holes. When I first moved here, you got that hole there. We got another hole. These are directly above my bed, and then it's a hole all the way over there. Y'all see them 2 holes right there? It was, and then now we got another one over here on the wall. Right? And so when I first moved in here, them holes was not there, and they mysteriously appeared. And because you losing your mind, right? We creating vortex and shit. And so, you know, that's where they appeared at. That's how they got here. And so, anyways, my grandson just came, right? My grandson 3 years old. And at nighttime, my grandson's potty trained, but at nighttime I put him on a diaper or a pull up because I'm like, boy, you ain't gonna pee in Nana bed, And so I'm putting on his diaper, and he laying on the bed as I'm putting on his diaper, right? And he looking up at the ceiling. My grandson say, Nana, it's holes in the wall. And I said, I know, Nana, no. He said, them not there, right? And I said, what you say? He said, them was not there. And I said, I know they wasn't. For a 3-year-old baby to come inside and say, Nana, there's holes in the wall, right? And he walking through the house, pointing them out. I said, you see holes somewhere? He said, yeah, Nana. I said, where is some holes that wasn't there? And he running my front room. He pointed out. While I'm sitting up here talking about the holes in the wall, y'all, my phone cut straight off. It's all right. I'll show y'all again. But I was saying that over the weekend, I had my grandson, y'all, and he 3 years old. And he say, Nana, at nighttime, I put a diaper on him or I pull up because I don't want to pee in my bed. He potty trained, but you know, at nighttime, you never know how it's going to go. He's still freshly new with the potty train. And so, you know, he can still have access. He haven't had any, but keep our fingers crossed, you know. But he's been doing good so far, but still, I still put him on a pull-up diaper at nighttime because we ain't peeing on Nana comforter and get bed and all up in the mattress. No, we ain't had no pissy body up in here. And so anyways, he laying on the bed and I put his diaper on. And he looking up, he say, Nana, he said, there's holes in the wall. And I said, I don't see no holes. He said, yes, they there, y'all. He pointed out a new hole in the wall, y'all. It was 2 holes starting off. When I first came here, it was none. Then it was 2 in the room. Now it's 4 in the room, right? The bathroom had 2 in there. It's 1 in the front, in the dining room. Now there's 2 in my front room, y'all. And I showed y'all in another video, and now it's 1 in the hallway, a brand new one in the hallway. And so I said, maybe we're in a vortex. And he said, what's that? I said, maybe we creating our own reality, and it's creating holes, right? And so he said, no, Nana. And I started laughing. I said, what you think it is? He said, somebody put it there. I said, who you think did it? He said, I don't know. He said, you put it there. And I said, I didn't put it there. You put it there. You know, he going back and forth. He being silly. He said, no, Nana, them not there. He was showing me. I said, well, them 2 was. He said, but them not supposed to be there. Them was not there. And I said, you see any other holes that Nanny didn't see? He said, and I said, where you see them holes? Where you see new holes at? Where you see holes at? Y'all, I said, show Nana. He take my hand and he running me into the front room and showing me the 2 holes that. But y'all, it's a lot of stuff going on. I ain't about to get off into that, but it's a lot of stuff going on. Y'all stay 10 toes down till you can come up. Watch how you behave to certain things. People around you are going to try to trigger you. And people from the past will try to re-enter into your lives right now. Most especially now because in the next coming months as well. Is because you got the holidays coming around. So that's the excuse to try to reach out to you. And then another thing as well is that these people thought that they was getting things. And by you turning it around and doing certain things and walking into your purpose, your light, who you are called to be, a lot of things that was taking place. We are in a new age of certain things, right, as well. And so, astrology-wise, right, where things are coming back around to being and things that was hidden is being brought to the light. And things that was in the dark is coming to the light, right? So cliche. Who wants that perfect love story anyways? Cliche. It's just so cliche, huh? And so, y'all, be careful on how you respond to people, places, things. Be careful of the randoms coming up to you doing certain stuff. Y'all, I remember one time I was inside a grocery store, right? And this guy out of nowhere gets a buggy, starts ramming his car really fast behind me. Like, act like he gonna run me over. Came in the grocery store out of nowhere, right? This was years back, y'all. And I turn around and I look at him. He wanted me to get upset. He was trying to rev out some energy out of me. And for some reason, I just couldn't get mad. And I remember being on the phone with my grandmother and telling my grandmother, I said, Granny, I said, I had my earbuds on. I had my daughter with me. And I said, Granny, it's a man in back of me with this motherfucking cart. And I said, I'm going to turn around and bop this bitch in the face, right? I said, he act like he going to run his cart into the back of my legs. And then I said, I went on here and went down another aisle to get out of his way. He stood there for a while. He trying to rev the cart up real fast down the aisleway, acting like he was going to run into me. And I just ignored him. My granny said, do not say nothing to him. Don't turn around and say nothing to him. And ignore him, right? Even if he come down whatever aisle you in, just ignore him. She said, go get up in the front and pay for your stuff. Y'all, I get in the line to pay for my stuff. He comes behind me acting like he gonna grab the cart into me. The lady that's doing the stuff, she like looking back like, what the fuck? So he hurry up and run. Y'all, he never grabbed anything, nothing. This is a white guy, Caucasian man who did this, and he was older, right? then it was a Subway inside of this place. I was inside of Walmart, and it was a Subway inside this Walmart. And so being that he couldn't get me to get upset, he hurried up and ran his cart around, ran over to the Subway, sit down in the Subway, looking at me, all that in the Subway, right? Like he had a straight demon on him, right? And then I didn't know what was going on, and I'm in the store. The lady like, I said, girl, I never spoke to that man. I said, he just tried to take that car. I said, when he first came, she said, when I seen him coming to the store, she said he grabbed the car. He looked normal. She said, so I said, girl, I never said nothing to him. I said, he came in the back of me over there where the meat is at. And I said, he act like he wanted to run that car to me. I said, girl, I've been on the phone with my granny. My granny kept saying, just ignore him. Just ignore him. I said, she's still on the phone. She said, that is weird, right? Right then and there, my granny began to say stuff, but she wouldn't always tell me fully what was going on. I think it was out of protection. She always did things to keep me protected, right? And she always told me, leave things alone, right? Because when you don't know, but I wish she wouldn't have handled it like that and went on ahead and told me, right? But what it is this. A lot of y'all have always been in programs, right? And when you begin to grow, heal, and evolve, and you get into that space and place when you by yourself, if you notice, every time you get by yourself, it's always somebody trying to push their energy into yours. It's always somebody trying to push up on you, right? Trying to force you into relationships. A lot of y'all would notice that a lot of people that came around you, friends, they try to force themselves into a friendship situation. A lot of y'all friendships and the way y'all met people is very unnormal, right? Even though they try to normalize it, if you look back over certain things, you would notice that a lot of the times when you met people, relationships, that a lot of it was not normal, right? And how you met people. At that time, that space, that place, that dimension you was in, it was normal. But when you at where you at right now, if you begin to look back over some of the situations, you will see that none of it's normal, right? And even when I used to like be in relationships, right, I would see how after I would work somewhere, somebody would all of a sudden come inside that job, right, and then try to talk to me. These are people that's in different societies, right? When that man came in that store, he was from a society as well, and he was revving up that cart like he was revving up an engine to get some type of energy out of me. Like, I remember I was watching this video, this movie, and on this movie, kidnapping the little ones. But it was the special ones, the ones who had gifts, abilities, and all these different things, right? Who was had direct connection to source. They was kidnapping them, and what they would do is it was like 4 or 5 of them of these things left, these type of like witch type creatures left. They looked human, and what they would do is that they would kidnap the little ones, and they would torture them, and they would bottle up their energy and sniff it and all this weird stuff, right? A lot of these people is trying to get energy off of y'all so they can yum y'all energy up, sniff y'all up, and do all this stuff. And being that a lot of y'all are more aware now what's going on, even if you don't know fully, you're still learning things about yourself, and that is driving them to lose their bunker minds, right? And at that time, when I look back over it, that was at a place where I was by myself, I was at peace, and I wouldn't let nobody next to me or in my life at that time. And so there was nothing else to connect them into those parties. You understand? And so they had to end that quickly. And a lot of these people that came towards me was especially in relationships wise and as friends, these people was in different societies and things of that nature. And they thought that they was going to get on up. These people thought that they were going to come up off of me, right? Then I would notice that times that I wasn't in relationships and stuff like that, it's been a very small amount of my time in my life where I was not in a relationship, right? A lot of times I was in long-lasting relationships, even from me being very young. And I noticed that all these people were sent towards me. Every last single one of them was sent towards me, right? All these different people was from different societies, and they was put onto me by way of family members and stuff like that, right? And all these people was involved. And see, now it's the great fall is here. The great fall is nigh. The great fall is now, right? And so a lot of these people are turning up the heat because a lot of the things that they was working and doing is no longer working. You have to understand, in order for it to work, you have to be a willing participant, right? Even if you wasn't willing, even if you didn't know what's happening at that time. And so this is why it's vital not to scream, why me? Even if you had a tumultuous childhood, even if you had a tumultuous teenhood, even if you had a tumultuous adulthood at the hands of other people, it is vital that you do not say, why me? Even though these people were put onto you from a young age and you really never had a fighting chance, but here you are. That's why it's vital to do the healing work, right? These people don't want my words getting out, my messages getting out, because they know that what I'm speaking of is the truth. These people monitor me 24/7, every day, all day. But they don't understand that nobody's greater than the big guy. Nobody's greater than God. And see, the thing about it is, there's people and ancestors that come before us that got us so far, right? Your great-great-granny came and she did part of the work. Then somebody came after her. Her daughter came and did some of that work. And then the next granny did some of that work. And the next person might have said, I ain't doing that, right? They might have skipped out on time, so it put y'all back a little bit, right? Some of them didn't make it. Some of them got off in the midst of trying to even figure out that they had a mission, right? Some of them didn't make it, right? So shout out to them, right? And you are here to finish out that mission and to get it done, to get the rest of the thing done, to take them all down, right? And so you would sit there, and even though they had the ups on you, you was nothing but a plant by the Most High God and the tool being used to capture all these high-ranking demons. These high-rank entities that has been on the loose, that has been roaming the earth, right? I was reading the book of Enoch, right, before I went to sleep one day. And one of the things that stood out to me in that book of Enoch, right, I never really read that, or really, I listened to it, but I could never get into it, yeah? Like Doja said, get into it, yeah? Right? I could never really get into it because it wasn't time for me to get into it, right? Everybody's time is at a certain time. And I remember people talk about it, but that was their time. And what they chose to do with that information and their findings is that's their thing, right? And so what I'm choosing to do with my findings, my information, I choose to share it as I go. And so one of the things what was the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch, the Ethiopian Bible, right? And so just as well as there's bad, right? There is good. You got the bad people. You got the people that's good, that's rooting for you. You got those people in the middle that's just sitting there like, damn, either way, right? But damn, she is or he is doing the damn thing, right? They making it, they doing it. Would never thought that they got here, but they here, damn, right? The mutual people. And so the neutral people, right? The ones that just, damn if she do, damn if she don't. Damn if he do, damn if he don't, right? But when you start doing it, it's like, damn, get on up, right? They wishing you a little goodness on the side. Like, damn, I hope they really make it. I hope they really, you know what I'm saying? I ain't really care about who won or who lost. I'm just watching it. But damn, I'm wishing them a little good luck, right? And that's when you get that thing on the front of your phone that give you a little bit more information because you're ready for it, right? You understand? I need somebody to hear me that when I'm saying this stuff, right? And so one day you might wake up and there might be something on the forefront of your stuff to give you a little bit more, a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more wisdom, right? It's up to you if you're going to catch what's being put down, right? And that's the end of that. But the losing team, the ones that was ahead, right, in this game, they are behind, right? And they're riding dirty. They out here fighting real dirty, right? They fighting with uppercuts. They carrying stuff behind their back and then come on, can I have a hug to hit you in the gut, right? You know, I surrender with something sharp behind their back to hit you with. I surrender. Come give me a hug. I'm so sorry I did all these things to you. You're a winner now, right? What they said, if you can't beat them, if you can't join them. If you can't beat them, join them. If you can't join them, destroy them. That's the mentality of these entities, right? But one of the things that stuck out to me, oh, y'all, it must be on point because, y'all, I don't never burp. And every time I get on these things, I start burping. Excuse me. But the thing that stuck out to me in the book of Enoch was, out of all that stuff that I ain't got not even halfway through that book. But from all the things that I heard, the main thing that stuck out to me was how Enoch had the giants had defiled, right? They said that, I got chills on my legs. Oh, yes, God. I'm on point, y'all. It said that the angels descended down to earth and took the women of the earth, right? They took wives for themselves. And that was a no-no. But they did so, right? And y'all know the rest, right? Y'all gotta go look it up. But they said that these angels, they said that they took the wives on for themselves. They said that they made creatures and defiled all these, was mixing human DNA with all these different cute creature human DNAs and all this different stuff, making all this different stuff, right? And they were showing how to put makeup and stuff on the eyelids and teaching witchcraft and all this stuff, right? Things that we shouldn't have known. They were teaching all these things, right? And they said that as the stuff, then they started born children with the women. They said that the women had turned into sirens, mermaids, right? The giants, the wives of the giants, the angels, right? Because these was kids from the angels and the women. They bore giants. And so they said that the giants started becoming kings and all this stuff, right? And people was worshiping them. Of course, they got to worship because they were so freaking big, right? Who ain't going to worship it? Right? Out of fear, you're going to worship. You ain't got no choice. Then they said they begin to eat us and all this crazy stuff, right? So y'all got to go take a look at that yourself for people who don't know. But people who know, y'all know what I'm talking about. And so the main thing that stuck out to me is that when God heard the cries of us, right? When he heard our cries and he said, what is that? They crying. What's going on down there, right? And he told the one angel to go down there and see what's going on. And then when he flooded, right? And he started imprisoning these angels and they said, can you... he flooded it for the giants and wiped the whole thing out and kept Noah, right? And then he said that he locked these angels up. And so Enoch went into these different heavens, these different levels of the heavens. And the angels had said, can you go back and, tell God to forgive us and to all this stuff. They wanted him to write down what they said and how they felt and all this stuff, right? After they did all this crazy stuff, they were talking about for forgiveness, right? And Enoch said he was so terrified by what he's seen on these different levels. He said, who gonna pray for me? What? Why? He was so terrified. Person so terrified. When your only thing is like, you want me to pray. They said, pray for us, Enoch. He said, I'm looking at this. I'm so terrified. And so my eyes just seen this. Something that the brain can't even even pick up what's being put down. You understand? Who gonna pray for me? Who gonna pray for my mind? Who gonna pray for me? You need to pray for me. I'm looking at this, man. I'm looking at this. Y'all ain't funny. But I can only imagine, right? Like for your mind to take in things that the human mind is never supposed to be able to fathom, right? Some things that your mind is not even supposed to be able to pick up what's being put down, that your worldly mind, right? Because it's a worldly body, worldly spirit, worldly mind, right? And after you indulge in worldly things, you're really worldly, right? That's why you got to keep that balance. Because when things come to you like that, like Archangel Michael, when I said my first experience, right? If I didn't have faith, if I didn't know God, when I had that first encounter, I would have been like, what is going on, right? I would have been scared as hell, right? Every water bottle in my thing popped. And if you see the face, the real face of some of these angels, you would pass out. Your heart probably would stop, right? And for him to go in there, you know he had to have some type of coverings for God, some type of shielding over him, and some type of opening of his mind in order to be able to see this and to be okay. And they said that as soon as, right, he couldn't even really get into it and as soon as he got emotional, like, oh my God, like, what am I seeing, right? His eyes probably rolled him to back. He probably seized up. They said the angel brung him up out of there and set him before God again, right? Ooh, Lord have mercy. He said, who gonna pray for me? Right? When they know that they have done something so bad and they getting locked up like this, they like, man, go to God and tell him that we sorry and that we did that and the other, right? He like, pray for me. Like, he like, forget what you talking about. Forget you did what you did, man. Pray for me, right? You need to pray for me, right? You the one that's angelic. You the one that's angelic. You the one that got all this stuff and this power. Man, pray for me. Heal me. Heal what I'm seeing, right? You can only imagine. Y'all, that is crazy. I would have been up there, what? Right? You know it's bad from what you see. When you see so much stuff that you got to tell the person in trouble who need prayer, then the angelic being, whatever it is, creatures and all, that when you see that, and they, you know that they seeing is that so bad, but you don't even care because your eyes are seeing what they can't even supposed to see, and you need for that same simple thing to pray for you. You know it's bad. He said, pray for me. Pray for me. Pray for you. Pray for you. What? Pray for me. Y'all, that's not funny. That is crazy, right? That's why you got to have that equal balance, y'all. You got to have a balance. But, where was I going with this? Oh, the main thing I said that stuck out to me, right? When God answered him back and he said that the spirits of the giants will roam this worldly earth. Like, what? Right? So I had to pause it for a minute, rewind it, and listen to what I know I just heard. But I want to know if I heard it right? And so it said that the spirits of the giants, so they're going to die, and their spirits is going to roam this earth. And so now, we're not just fighting principalities, we're not just fighting demons, we're fighting even spirits of giants, right? And all this different stuff. And then you got people doing all this stuff, spell booking and witchcraft, right? And they're calling on this stuff to do stuff to people as well. And to gain power and access to this and access to that. Like, what? What type of doo-doo is we in on this realm, right? And so, I'm going to go back to what I was saying as well about the relationships. The reason why, right, once I started to grow and know what was going on, that all the way up to the last person, is that I started to figure out when I started to see their behavior change. I'm like, why is it that I'm cool, right? I'm a cool, pretty much laid back, right? I cook, I clean, I do all this stuff, right? And these are habitual time wasters. But I would notice that out of nowhere, these people would start arguments and all this stuff, right? And one would say, oh, they doing something, right? Or they cheating, and then they want to blame you for it, right? The common switcheroo, right? But what I started to do is I started to pay attention to is I started to get indignant. I started to say, my girl used to say indignant. I start to dig in a little bit more and plant my feet and get quiet. And another thing that I noticed as well is that these people always kept some form of drama going on, right? All throughout my life, I've never been a dramaful person. I've never been a person that liked the conflict, and I never dealt with conflict like that, right? But I would notice that these people would try to keep conflict around me and keep this stuff going, constant noise, right? So you would never had a time to sit down and actually see what's happening, what's going on. Y'all got a little grease on my eyes. So you would never had a time to sit down and actually see what was going on, right? Me, you, them, and whoever else. A lot of times, why is it that you got to ask yourself, why is it that you mind your business, you don't really deal with people? It comes to time in your life where you start just cutting people out of your life and away from you, right? You have those people that come around you, try to mimic you, try to be like you, try to act like you, try to talk like you, try to walk like you, right? And you start to get into a space and a place where you don't want nothing around you, right? Why is it that when you get to a place where you're by yourself, people come around you and they're trying to force themselves on you, right? The person that my ex is the one who really open my eyes up to a lot of stuff when it comes to certain stuff and what was actually going on around me, because that behavior of that person was just that bad, right? And it didn't make sense on why this person's behavior was so horrific, right? When somebody gets sent around you to keep chaos and all this stuff going to keep you in stuff, they constantly keep you in stuff to make you look constantly imbalanced, right? If somebody do something so bad, you got to call the police, right? Now you got a history of calling the police, right? These people were trying to have some type of paperwork going to make you look like you was unstable, right? And what I was starting to notice is that the certain police officers that would show up in my local community, they was not responsive to what I was saying. They was playing stupid, even though they would see the person. Y'all, one time, my ex did something. I called the police on this person. This was years ago. And this person literally jumped the gate, and the police watched him jump the gate and stood there and did nothing. I'm like, that person is going over the gate. So it let you know that what I just said is the truth. And this person, the one officer, tried to come in and third degree me on what I was saying, right? So that let me know that they was getting paid. But I didn't know right then and there. I just knew that the behavior was so bad within everybody, the neighbors, everybody, right? So many people in on this thing, and even if they didn't know exactly what was going on, it didn't matter as long as they played whatever part it was that they need to play, even if they didn't know the bigger picture. And this is why a lot of these people are about to be dealt with on a grand scale, because you don't know all the way what's taking place. And even if they come up to you and say, hey, and they tell you a lie, right? Tell a person a lie, a neighbor, a person at the workplace, right? And somehow they get in contact with one of those people in there, and then that one person starts spreading all down the block, or that one coworker starts spreading all throughout the job these lies, and they took finances and money to cause you hardship and problems, right? They might have came in, they're not going to tell them, oh, we stealing this person money, we've been studying since they've been a child, right? Or we doing this to this person and we got them in these different programs, we've been doing this since a child. So what they do is they just try to corrupt your personality, corrupt who you are. And a lot of times these people in these places and spaces, they're so jealous of you due to beauty, due to whatever it is, right? They're insecure with themselves. And these people are able to get got like that because of their own insecurities and the fact that they don't sit down and work on themselves. Somewhere in there, God tapped them on the shoulder for them to correct what it is that they doing. And like I always tell y'all, they got one or two things to do. Either they're going to start correcting that behavior, right? Or they're going to continue doing what it is that they do, and they have to go up under judgment. And a lot of the people, the little loose ends, they're going to get it the worst. Because they didn't understand the grand scheme. They just got in on something because of what somebody said about that person. You understand? And so, y'all, I can keep going and going and going. And the beat goes on, everlasting. I don't know. Something just keep taking my eyes to see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. Be very careful, y'all. I'm about to get off it here, right? I start up another time, another day. I want to finish saying what I was saying about my son as well when I was in the hospital, y'all. This man, it was most definitely an angel, right? What is it? Angels on the Outfield. What was another one? Angels in the City, Angels. Remember that Angel show? Y'all, some of y'all got some heavy hitters on y'all team. Ain't no need to worry. You just need to do your part. And that's when you see something, you go the other way. When you see things that's abnormal, that's what it is, and keep it moving, right? You don't have to voice everything. And some of y'all, when y'all saying that y'all going through these different things, right? When y'all, the gang stalking and all this stuff. Another thing I noticed as well is that you can tell who being, why is it that you think that all of a sudden that people are speaking up about their experience? Now you got all these people over speaking about it, right? You got somebody come out and say they chosen. Now everybody chosen, right? It's like a narcissist. I don't really like the word narcissist because it's so overused and so misused, right? Same thing when it comes to chosen, etc., right? The gang stalking stuff. People talking about they being gang stalked and they coming out with their stories, and now you got all these different people coming out with different stories. You gotta have discernment, intuition on who is being real and what it is that they saying, and who is lying on what it is that they saying, and who they putting up in the forefront. You gotta be careful on who they putting up in the forefront, right? Some of these people is getting paid to say certain things, right? And then they always got these bad endings, right? Oh, this happened to me, right? Or the one guy got on there and he did reposted this girl video who she said she was being gang stalked and all this bad stuff started happening to her, and she passed away, right? You gotta be careful in who it is that you listening to and who's instilling fear and who's being. You gotta have that discernment to know who's being put up in the forefront. And a lot of times, they put these people up in the forefront so that way when people who actually going through this go to speak, it'll be watered down. Because after you hear 200 people saying that they being gang stalked, after a while, people start turning their head. So when somebody really come up there and they really speaking on this stuff, right, they are being overlooked. They want them to be overlooked. Like it's another thing that's just happening, right? Everybody, a lot of people was in on this thing. Then another thing too, I seen this person, he had all these followers, right? And he began to speak on a certain type of spirit, right? He got this podcast. I said, why is he being put up? I don't watch this dude. I ain't never tapped on him. Why is he being shown up in the front of my stuff, right? God showed me something right then and there. I prayed on it, right? This is why you need to pray before you go in, watch stuff, right? When you go tapping into certain stuff, you need to pray before you walk into certain spaces and places, right? You have to send the covers over yourself. When I seen that person, the average person would have looked at that person and seen, oh my God, he got all these likes and all these people tapping into him, all these people watching him, right? You have to be very careful. God told me right then and there, these are one of the heavy hitters who has been peeping into people's lives, causing problems. I got my left leg tingling, tapping into people's lives, actually causing them these problems, actually sending them type of spirits towards them. And then they go and create a platform and speak on these things, right? As if it's happening to them, when all in actuality, none of that stuff happened to them. And they're taking bits and pieces of other people's lives and going to make platforms off of it. We're watching you, Truman Show shit, right? None of that happened to them. They ain't had no spirit come see them, no nothing. And it's crazy that this person was particular, so specific in his certain spirit that he was dealing with, right? And the type of things that he was dealing with when it came to this, right? God showed me right then and there. He is one of the people who is in them societies who has been causing the average little Jane, right? The person who is nobody, right? These problems, right? And then taking on pieces of their story, right? That stuff is real. I was watching this lady and she was like, when you see certain people and they come out with these movies, she said you might go through something in your life, and then all of a sudden, this $1 billion movie corporation come out with a movie that just come out with a movie of something that just happened in your life or something that happened within your life, right? Right? Like, remember I told y'all about my son, right? My son passed away, and it's certain things that happened within that time frame, and then all of a sudden it was a movie that came out, and it's a person that all black people know, right? Even the other side. That this is a person who started at the bottom and went all the way to the top, right? This person came out with a movie who in this movie, this woman, her baby had died, passed away, right? She had a little girl, and her little girl passed away. But she was working at this job, and something happened to where she was going through this stressful situation where she thought her baby was still here. But what is it called, like postpartum, or when something tragic happened where it take a while for your mind to process it because it was so traumatic. This person came out with a movie where the daughter had passed on, and she was living her everyday life. She had went up to the school as if her child was still there, right? And all this different stuff, right? You got to be very careful in what it is that y'all are spending your time on, right? I'm going to end it at that when I say that movie came out after that. And I said, that is so ironic that came out, right? After my son passed away. And I come across this woman, and she was speaking on things of this nature, right? About how these higher ups is tapping to our little bitty old lives. People that you would never ever think would know who your little bitty old self is. That is happening to you and taking bits and pieces of your story and then going to go publish it, going out there in the forefront speaking, right? Deliberately running science experiments on you, sending different deities and entities towards you, and holding in places and spaces and different people watching you and see how you respond. And then they going up there on the platform and talking about these things happened to them and how they got rid of it. And it's similar into what happened to you and how it happened. I mean, nobody find that, right? And at one point, people was blind to this. But see, we in a new age where people's eyes are opening up and they're not so closed-minded, right? Like, I seen another video where this guy was speaking on different dimensions and all this different stuff way back when, and how he got visited by these people, and shortly thereafter, they had threatened him, and he kept talking about it, and they took him out of here, right? And then later on, now, and everybody was laughing at him when he was talking about this stuff. The people where he was having these meetings at and all this stuff, they was all laughing at him. Oh, yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, that's not happening, right? But now they speak about it so openly, about these different dimensions and all this different stuff, right? And so, y'all, just be open to certain things, right? But be closed off to the things and go to God if you're unsure, right? Use your intuition, use your discernment if you're unsure of what it is that you're looking at. Just because they got thousands, millions of followers, don't make them right. And a lot of them people be put up in the forefront to tell pieces of your little life, and you'll be like, damn, that's resonating with me. Damn, that's resonating with me. Damn, that's resonating with me. Damn, why that sound like that, like the same thing, right? And that's where they get you at. And when I clicked on that person, I said, I ain't never watched this person. Why is this person up on the front of my stuff? Your algorithm is normally what you watch. And a lot of times, every now and again, you might have something extra through up there. You can tell who's being pushed up to the forefront of your phone, of your algorithm, and all those things, right? They want to. It's all for a response. But I want to let you. I want to let y'all know that if you got all these big people watching little bit, you that MFer, you that MFer all the way around. Some of y'all are being labeled as saints, and what they're trying to do is change your last name. And I was watching this other girl too that I like, and she was saying that how she had a dream, and in her dream she had seen. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that, didn't y'all? That knock. No. God said no. That is wild. I'm in this room with me and my dogs, y'all. I got clothes on my bed. Me and my dogs. Nothing else is in this room. Me and my dog. Y'all, that is crazy. It said knock. God said no. So I'm in it there. Don't talk about that. But I'm going to say this. A lot of people is in a lot of spaces off the back of some of us, and they have no business being in those spaces and those places. And we are in a season where these people are coming out of there, right? I like to call them cloud chasers. For a long time, I was calling them cloud chasers, right? But it's deeper than just cloud chasers, right? The girl was speaking on that as well. But her how people are in situations and in positions at the top off the back of you, right? And she was asking in this space, in this place, where is the person at that actually supposed to be in this place? And she was talking about how some of our signatures was being signed in rooms that we never entered into. But all these people, like your mama, your daddy, your cousin, your auntie, your friend, your last ex, and all these things, right, is inside of these rooms that they have no business being in off the back of you, but yet you're not receiving the accolades and the things that you're supposed to be receiving for yourself and off your own energy. Right? These people who come into your life and they love you, but they purposely do you wrong to sit inside these rooms off the back of you. Look at me. I can sit in here because I did her wrong. I did him wrong. I'm sitting here off the back of them. Clout chasers, off the fact of even knowing you are being in your energy. Right? We are in a season where all of that stuff is ending. Right? Some of these people are trying to switch your last names. Right? Switch our last names. She was speaking on this as well. Your name is Philip. Right? Your last name is Philip. And you're being studied and watched. Right? They found out that you was an actual saint. And your name is I'm gonna just say Christina Phillip, right? Making up a name, Christina Yazidi. I'm gonna just say something like your name is Yazidi, right? But they trying to switch your name to Christina Phillips instead of Yazidi, which your actual name is, because they don't want people to know that it was a woman who got this position by God. They don't want people to know that this woman was ordained, or this woman was ordained by God. This black man was ordained by God. This black man was this and that and that and this to God. They don't want these people to know who you really are, who was touched by an angel. Right? They don't want these people to know I got left side body chills, right? They are here with me, baby. Ooh, hello, Archangel Michael. I told y'all. I cannot make this up. Y'all, my whole left side as I start to talk. Hello, Archangel Michael. He is in the building. He is in the building. And before I got on here, I had anointed myself and I said a prayer and I called him on in. Hello, Archangel Michael. He let me know he in the building. I cannot make this up, y'all. My dogs is laying on my bed there and not moving around. Y'all, I could cry right now. These angels is for real, y'all. They are here with us, and we are winning the freaking war. I'm ending it with that, y'all. I love y'all. Good night, and I'll be back only what? If it's God's will. Angels is in the outhouse. The angels is in the building. It's heavy on my left side. I got to go, y'all. I love y'all.